Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to dive into a pretty amazing secret, the one thing that connects every single living thing on Earth, from you and me to the tiniest little microbe, all the way up to the biggest whale in the ocean. It's the secret ingredient to life, and it's been hiding in plain sight this whole time.
Okay, so let's just kick things off with this question. Think about it. A whale, a mushroom, and you. I mean, you couldn't really pick three more different things, right? But believe it or not, if we could zoom in, way in, we'd find they're all built from the exact same fundamental blueprint.
And look, the answer isn't obvious. It's not something like having two eyes or being able to walk. The real secret is hidden away in a world that's completely invisible to us, a microscopic universe of incredible machinery that's constantly at work inside of you right now.
So how in the world did we ever figure this out? Well, humanity needed a key to unlock this invisible world. And that key finally showed up in the late 1500s. It was the microscope. And for the first time ever, this amazing invention let us peek behind the curtain and see what was really going on.
This is where the story gets really cool. Fast forward to 1665. A scientist in England named Robert Hooke takes a look at a super thin slice of cork under his microscope, and what he saw blew his mind. It looked like a honeycomb, a grid of tiny empty rooms. He called them cells, kind of like the small rooms monks live in. And that name, well, it stuck.
And boom, there it is. That's the answer to our question. The one thing that a whale, a mushroom, and you all have in common is the cell. It's the ultimate building block, the basic Lego piece that all of life is made from.
You know, Hooke's discovery wasn't just some random, neat observation. It was huge. It became the foundation for one of the most important ideas in all of biology, what we now call the cell theory.
So this theory, it basically gives us three simple but really powerful rules for life. Rule number one, if something is alive, it's made of cells, period. Rule two, the cell is the smallest possible thing that can be considered alive. And rule number three, and this one's a biggie, cells can't just pop into existence out of thin air. They have to come from other cells that already exist.
All right, so if all life is made of cells, what's actually inside of them? Let's zoom in and take a tour. The best way to think about a cell is like a bustling microscopic city. And just like any city, it's got all these specialized buildings and departments. We call them organelles, and each one has a very specific job to do. Every city needs a city hall, right? A control center that holds all the master plans. Well, in the cell, that's the nucleus. It's like a secure vault that holds the cell's DNA. That's the genetic instruction manual for literally everything the cell has to do.
But a city can't run without power. To keep the lights on, the cell depends on its power plants, the mitochondria. These things are the absolute dynamos of the cell. They take in food and turn it into pure energy that fuels everything else. They are the true powerhouse of the cell.
And of course, you gotta have some security, right? Some border control. That's the job of the cell membrane. It's this flexible outer layer that acts like a bouncer at a club, carefully deciding what gets in, like food and water, and what gets kicked out, like waste.
So where does all the actual work get done in this city? That happens in the ribosomes. You can think of these as thousands of tiny little factories. They get their orders straight from the nucleus and get to work building proteins, which are the molecules that do pretty much all the jobs inside the cell.
So we've got our city hall, power plants, border control, factors, but here's the thing. Not all these cellular cities are built the same way. Life actually came up with two very different blueprints for how to construct a cell.
The biggest difference really comes down to organization. You have the simple cells, called prokaryotes, think bacteria. Their DNA just kind of floats around inside. Then you have the more complex cells, eukaryotes. That's us, and plants and fungi. Our cells are much more organized, keeping their DNA tucked away safely inside that nucleus.
And, even within those more complex cells, we see some fascinating variations. Take plant cells. They've got a tough, rigid cell wall on the outside for support. Plus, they have these amazing little solar panels called chloroplasts, which let them make their own food from sunlight. Animal cells, on the other hand, don't have either of those things. We're more flexible, and we have to get our energy by eating.
Okay, so we've got all these different kinds of cells, but how do we get from one single, tiny cell to something as complex as a human being? Let's zoom all the way back out and look at the big picture. It's this incredible layered system. It's like this. Cells that do the same job team up to form tissues. Different tissues then come together to build an organ, like your heart.
Those organs then work together in an organ system, like your whole circulatory system. And finally, all those systems working in harmony create a complete organism, you.
And that brings us full circle, doesn't it? It doesn't matter how big or small or complicated a living thing is, it all starts in one place. From the simplest bacterium to the trillions of cells working together to make you, the cell is the universal starting point for everything. So, let's end with one last thought to chew on. Your body, this amazing city of cells, is never the same from one moment to the next. It's constantly rebuilding, replacing old cells with new ones. So if all the building blocks are always changing, what is it that makes you, you? It all comes down to the blueprint, the DNA, and this beautiful idea that every cell's design is perfectly suited for its job. It's that incredible dance between structure and function happening trillions of times over that creates the constant, unique person that is you.